Let's go to the Dogs at the moment, because I think Luke Beveridge has to go to clear speaking school, and because he's actually tying himself up in knots, which is, again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's not doing him any good.
Whether or not there's any pain as we evolve and move into the future, because it's all about the now and what's up next and what's up next year, and history is history. Yeah, look, I mean, if it came across as mixed, it wasn't intended to be mixed. You know as well as I do, Drew, I've never been a coach that has tried to leverage for time. You know, I've always been a coach for the now, and I believe in our group.
Well, it was mixed messaging, and I think a lot of people have been following the Dogs and wanting to know where they're at. And Meat Bain said they're a top four side, but he said the future, the now, evolving, history is history, but I'm back for the now. Now, if you don't know where you are in the journey, it gets a bit confusing. I just look at their side. We talk about a player who could be the greatest Bulldog ever in Bontempelli. Libba's playing as good a footy as ever. You got two young key forwards in Darcy and Ugle-Hagan who could be generation. We haven't even touched on Norton yet. And you've got all Australians on the half-back line.
But he'll say to you that he thinks, yeah, have you looked deeper than that? I'm just playing devil's advocate to what he says. So what do you think where do you think they should have finished this year, or they should finish?
Well, they should be a final side, based off list talent. And I buy into his idea that you can't just pick the best players, you've got to pick the best players for position. So I understand some of these guys who have been good for him in the past don't fit where he needs them to be. Like, you can't just go park another mid as a forward when you've got forwards like Waitman and West, but that's proving a point. We've got some forwards who are going pretty well. So I think they just need to all get aligned with their messaging and don't be bashful or shy and saying we're pushing for the final.
But you know what it's like. Some of that's stubborn. I know you've written about it this week, Damo.
I think there's mixed messaging at every level.
And they won't get along. Maybe Luke Beveridge and the bosses, Chris Grant and Amit Baines, they'll never align. Maybe they'll always disagree, and that's where you wonder whether change just has to come.
Well, I'm led to believe that was actually made perfect sense compared to what actually was said in the rooms.
In the rooms,
So the players were all over the place. And don't forget, the players, my understanding is that pre-season, a fair bit, way into pre-season, the players said, we're a finals team, we're a top four side. What are we doing? And I think that's where it's at the moment. So when they hear is it next year's this and that, and we know what it's like in any football club when you've got all Australian players who are only in their mid-20s, who aren't getting a game. The well gets poisoned very quickly. As much as everyone says we're all in it together, no one wants to be playing the reserves. And Lob's up this week, and we know that Ugle-Hagan's out for personal reasons, but it just seems to be a bit all over the place.
Another player, Lloydie, who clubs are interested in, especially the Western Australian clubs, Tim English, and a bit of confusion around the Dogs of what to do going forward regarding his long stay at the Dogs.
And you've got some news, Damo, that it might not just be West Australian clubs.
No, it's not. And what I can say is that West Coast's interest has waned, Lloydie, in him from 2 years ago when they had a good crack at him. And we know he's out of contract. He's an All-Australian, Jimmy, the starting ruckman in last year's All-Australian team.
This is the concussion.
This is 2021. And look, he's out of form, it must be said. We'll hear what Lee Matthews said about him soon. But this is a 2020 incident, a friendly fire, to use that phrase in inverted commas. But he has had concussion moments. And then in the off-season, in the pre-season, he was forced to miss a lot of the training when he was forced to be running just by himself, again because of concussion moments.
And you're saying that the
there's
situation,
an awareness.
There's other clubs are now going, hang on, this guy's...
There's an awareness there, yeah. And it's unfortunate for him in that regard. I mean, he may not stay at the Bulldogs, but he may not go back to Perth too. It could be another club. He could re-sign. But all I'm saying is the West Coast interest, which was through the roof 2 years ago, is not through the roof, and it's on their terms.
Comments like this from Lee Matthews that have made some of these other clubs have a second look.
Tim English is a big man playing like a little man at the moment. He's not playing with enough aggression. Why is that? I don't know why. I just know he's not. At the moment, he's not playing with enough vigour and aggression. You big men have to play big. Yeah. You can't have soft big men.
You're calling him soft?
Well, he's playing soft.
Well, this is the land of the Giants of the Dogs, and if Tim English was to go, they're pretty well stocked for guys over 200 centimetres. Of course, you take Tim out there, I think Sam Darcy's close to 220 every time you look at him. But they've got guys in key positions who are ready to come through. Jordan Croft, another one they added, father-son, but tools everywhere. So if English was to leave, they can more than cover him in the key positions.
But the trick for English, though, for the Dogs, was he would have been on $1 million somewhere, and that's as a first-round pick all day. Now that's starting to come down the pecking order a bit.
That can still be manipulated under the AFL system.
Well, probably can.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it has cooled at that high-end level of
But it's fair for Tim English, if he is suffering residual effects of the concussion, to be playing, as the quote says, like a small bloke, protecting yourself. Because your confidence can go. We've seen that. We just know that situation. And we've gone past the situation where players have to go back with reckless courage and get clobbered. So it's an interesting situation there, whether they should continue with him or rest him or what knows. I mean, you have to talk to Gary Zimmerman, the doctor down there, to find out, I suppose.
Hey, the team they play tomorrow night is the Saints, and I just wonder where they're at. You know, they're escaping a lot of scrutiny at the moment, but they haven't started the season that well. And just want to go back to Andrew Bassett, the president of the St Kilda Footy Club, and what he had to say when Ross Lyon was first appointed.
The reality is we think our list is capable of more than we've shown. Simon talked about some of the inconsistency. At best, we're a pretty good team.
And now, a year and maybe 4 or 5 games into Ross Lyon's tenure, this is what Andrew Bassett has had to say in the last 24, 48 hours. I think we've got the room in the salary cap. We've been open about the fact that we've got room, but you don't want to go too early. You don't want to assume that you're closer to a flag than you are. And I think they're going to hold on to their checkbooks for a bit longer just to see where they're at. So again, are they in no man's land, St Kilda? Are they going to be still around the 8th, 9th, 10th? And do you hold on, Ed, or do you keep searching and go, is it a 23-year-old we can get? Get him in. Why are we wasting?
It does fly in the face of what Andrew Bassett said when he sacked Brett Ratton less than 6 months after he recontracted.
He might be selling a pup too. You know, it's not truth or dare, is it? I mean, he might be just saying we're not out there, and they might be out with their ears pinned back at the moment.
There's no one that,
I don't know why
that
he'd
is
say it,
jumping off the table that's guaranteed to be there at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, if they lose tomorrow night, well, suddenly the attention might turn to the Saints.
We